Welcome back to another episode of Squad Creator Podcast. It's your boy Mike T's in the building, and I'm gonna let my co-host go ahead and introduce himself.
Man, what's going on, man? The dynamic duo is back. We back with one of the, we only bring you the dopest guests, man. Please, Kenji, would you introduce yourself, brother?
What's up, everyone? My name's Kenji. I go by ikendoit.studio on most of my handles on socials. I run a clothing brand. I'm trying to educate people on how to do this on their own through YouTube videos and a bunch of shorts on Instagram. But my primary background is a graphic designer / apparel designer. So I'm just trying to show the lens of the creative flow of getting from like a designer standpoint all the way to running a brand and then, making a living out of it. So I'm just trying to showcase and show the people like, you don't need to be a rich person that has funding to do this. Like, it takes a long time to get there, but hard work always outplays just like, natural born talent kind of thing. So that's what I'm trying to preach to the choir.
That it does. So explain to us how you got started and give us a little precursor, please.
Yeah. So when I get started, I guess I can start with my company. So ikendoit Studio was a brand and company that I started in 2021. It was a result of being in the industry for about 7 years. I started off as a fulfillment person. Rewind a little bit more before that. So I have a degree in engineering. I was an engineer for 2 years and I hated it. I hated every moment of my life, like going to the job, like being in a gray cubicle. It's like all that stuff that you see in TV shows that you're like, this can't be real. Like, this is all made up shit.
Right.
And yeah, reality kind of started settling in and I was like, damn, like, is this what life from 23 and beyond is going to look like, And this was around that time where I found electronic music on a different level, where I started DJing and producing. And when I say I started, I mean like super basic, like, beginner level stuff, but I was very passionate about it. And I stumbled upon this company called Electric Family, and they were a company that's based in SF, moved to LA, and the timing just kind of worked out where I hit them up at the right time and they were like, yo, we need someone to help us with our shipping department. I had zero to no experience with that, but I was like, I need to get out of this engineering job. And it was like one of those moments where, yeah, now it sounds like it's very easy to talk about, but in the moment it was a very hard decision to leave like this job that I supposedly worked towards for years with my degree. And I just dip out to, get paid significantly less to pack orders. So in hindsight, like, I'm glad I did that because obviously this has blossomed into this. I don't even know. Sometimes I wake up and I can't believe this is like what's going on, but it's something that I'm very grateful for. And yeah, it's just like taking these steps from the engineering life and then leaving it behind and chasing what you do was how I got here. So that was where I started. And then 7 years later was when I left because I kind of felt like I capped out in terms of what experience I was getting at the company, because I was one of the main people that started the company besides the founders. So there's 3 founders and I was like the first person they hired. So I kind of seen the whole operation from the ground up, and I wasn't in a position where I really enjoyed what I was doing anymore. Like, I was a creative director and brand director for the company. And obviously, like, people want jobs like that. But the reality for me was like, I like creating what I want to create. So I took that opportunity to just be like, you know what? I've seen the company grow from 2014 to like 2019, from literally 3 people in one room to like a 5,000 square foot operation. So it's like, I've seen it. So I'm like, okay, I know what it takes to do this. Like, you need a good team. You just need like really solid players, and you just need a vision that is fucking gonna, be strong with the people who support you. So that's why I dipped out, and that was kind of how it all started in 2021.
Yeah, man. So you teach a lot about starting a brand, man. How you start your brand?
How did I start it? So I'm a very big fan of house music. Like, it's pretty much all I produce and DJ now. I got my mixer back there, and I don't perform as much anymore. Like, I kind of left the artist grind because that was a whole different spiel that I don't know. I got kind of burned out from that. So it was kind of like my extension of being involved with music, but through clothing. So the 2 brands that I run is House and Vision, and House is like a direct representation of house music, but I don't explicitly be like, this is house music. I just call it house. And it's because like, I kind of like to let the customers like interpret it the way they want to interpret it. And that's kind of how I like built my following, I guess, is like, I don't really promote like the lifestyle part of it. I just say like, this is what I do. And if you fuck with it, you fuck with it. And I don't know. It's just worked out for me that way. So yeah, house is like fundamentally based off house music because, you know, one, like the scene is like what made me who I am today, and like it's all I really listen to and play. And then vision is more about like my experimental side of like heavier graphic design focused designs, and also like more, I don't know, it kind of like scratches your brain kind of stuff. Like a lot of my designs are titled like very abstractly, like Reboot, which is like this computer generated looking like girl with like this goggles, it kind of like VR goggles, and it says like vision, and it's like unplugged and stuff. So it kind of like tells a time of, you know, how we're kind of slowly becoming more and more dependent on that, and it's like a dystopian feature that we don't want to see. And it's called like Reboot because it's like it's either you can like reboot your brain, you can reboot the way you think, you can reboot your life. Like I don't know, it's just like very abstract. I kind of it's kind of like art on a wall when you go to a museum. Like I just let the people decide what it means, kind of thing. After I had the inspiration to make it, and yeah, that's kind of like the two prefaces of those brands, and it's just different outlets that I'm able to create for. Because one of the things I didn't want to do was I didn't want to make an account dedicated to a brand, and then 4 years down the line, I'm like no longer interested in that particular thing because I've switched. So I used to be in band, like in middle school, high school, play saxophone, and then that was kind of like, you know, the precursor to, I think, being more interested in music production because I had background in actual like instruments and stuff like that. And then I moved on to dancing. Like I used to b-boy, I used to do like urban hip hop choreo stuff, and then I got kind of over that and everything. Like I kind of do for like 6 years or so, and then kind of like switch to the next thing. So seeing that as like a trend for myself, I'm like, I don't want to be stuck with the brand that, you know, because like I'm in my mid 30s now. Like I'm about to enter the 35 range. So it's like, you know, in 4 years, my style is going to definitely change, you know, as I approach 40, and then from 40 to 45, you know, I don't know. It's like we evolve with our clothing. So it's kind of like, I don't want to be stuck with a brand that I'm like, oh, I got to design this like streetwear shit that I don't fuck with anymore for the sake of the brand continuing. Right. So that's why like I decided that I Can Do It Studio is like the umbrella that owns the brands, but I am representing myself by being in front of the camera, which I didn't want to do at first, but I knew that I just had to step up to the plate and do it. And it's like giving me more of a open format platform. So that was my strategy with everything.
So when it comes to that camera magic, do you have somebody on your crew? Is that somebody filming you, or are you doing everything yourself, hands on, 100%?
Yeah, I got my crew right here. It's
this your crew?
right here. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about this because I have a proper camera too. I have like a DSLR, and I love photography. I've been doing it for like 5-6 years, similar to everything else I've been doing. But the issue with today's day and age with like content creation is like speed is the most important factor. Like, yes, quality matters, but the rate at which you can churn out stuff that's like a B- C+ is more important than just having like one spectacular video. You know, it's unfortunate because like I don't like to look at video creation as like content. Like I hate the word content. I feel like it devalues what it is. You know, because it's video creation. It's like people used to go on YouTube and like go out and shoot, and it was like this whole ordeal, right? But now it's like how fast can I pump out stuff every single week? And I'm also part of that system because I got to play the game. You know, I can't just be like, I'll make one video a month. It'll be cool. You know, I'll have like a cinematic intro and all this. Like some people can thrive that way, but I don't think like my expertise in like cinematography and like making videos is at any level close to being able to achieve that. So I'm trying to just like kind of rapid fire as fast as I can with the videos. And the secret is working all on mobile. Like just use your phone for everything. So I had an iPhone XS, or whatever the 10 was before this one. And then I waited for the 14 to come out because the 14 had the cinema mode. And then the cinema mode creates like a fake aperture, basically. It's like a computer generated like depth map. So like, you know, this camera doesn't have it, but I'm sure, I don't know if you guys already know what I'm talking about, but for the people who don't know what I'm talking about, a depth is like, if you're on like f-stop 1.8, it's like my face will be in focus, but everything else behind me will be blurry, right? And that's kind of like what creates this cinematic or professional look, because this just kind of looks like there's no focus on any person or subject in the shot, right? Everything's very sharp, very much in focus, which is good for family photos, you know, in front of a statue or something. But when you're shooting like videos that demand people's attention and like you want to create some sort of like focal point, the blur helps with that. Oh, we're changing cameras. dope.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
But yeah, so that's why like the iPhone 14 Pro has that cinematic mode, and that is like what changed the game for me. And also like having good lighting. So like right now it's got like lighting right here, just so like my face is a little bit more lit up. And a good tripod. That's the three. Phone that has cinematic mode, great lighting, and like a tripod. That's like all you need. So you don't need this. This is nice to have. Looks cool, but it takes too long to shoot content on that.
Sheesh, tell me about it. So when it comes to starting a brand, let's say I want to start this KRISPY PRINTZ. Could you please tell me a method in which you would use to get started? A printing method, that is.
Printing method?
A printing method, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're just starting off, there's two different ways to do it. If you're really strong in marketing and like branding, I would say you can probably go the screen printing route and go straight to like bulk production, because the sad truth is marketing is more important than the actual product, right? Like it sucks as like an artist, as a designer, to like admit that, but like you see so much crap that gets sold so much because people market it well, you know? So that being said, it's like if your forte is in marketing and stuff, like I think you can take a bigger risk. If it's not, like a lot of people out there, like the heat press way is the way to go, because I think it's just really dope that heat pressing, like one, it's very affordable now, you know, like it's very affordable, and two, like there's so many resources that kind of educate you without having to pick up a job or something to get that hands-on experience, right? Like people like you know, you show, like Mike, you show your printing every day, you show pressing every day, like Big Brando shows everything every day, you know. And what's my other guy's name, HB Recipe, like all these guys, like they show you how things get made, and they're not holding back on like the secret sauce, you know. And like that's what I think is really dope, is a lot of people are willing to share, and that's why like I'm also very open with most of the stuff that I say, because at the end of it, like I can give all the information out, but if the person can't execute it, it doesn't matter if they have that information.
Right.
I kind of think of it as like music, right? Like you can have like the dopest sample, but if you don't know how to like flip it in a song, it doesn't matter how good the sample is. It's only after the fact that people go, "Oh, that sample is so sick." But it's only because the person put it in that context that you're like, "Wow, it's dope." You know. Same with like clothing brands. It's like the final product is what shines, not like the process itself. Because the process could be very similar for a lot of people.
Well, let me ask: is there one that works better then, or should we choose to basically get started? When I'm trying to get at your HTV, are you like screen printing? Are we rooting towards DTF, or are we running with embroidery? Like, I got $500-600. I'm ready to get started today. I've been following House Division. I'm pumped. I'm super geek. I really want to get out there on the market. What should I go grab to get this started right here? Get this.
Grab a $20,000 embroidery machine. I would say, yeah. I mean, look, because this is the thing, right? Like heat pressing is a labor and a skill, but it also takes a lot of time, right? So as much as like I want to push heat pressing as the first option, like that's a big chunk of time that a lot of people may not be ready for committing,
right?
Or are they actually interested in that part of it, right? So that's kind of why, like I said, like it depends on what your strengths are. Because if you're good at marketing, I would say order a sample, go screen printing route, go to a shop, talk to them, get a sample, and then market the shit out of it. And then once you get your pre-orders in, you know, place a bulk order, sell it, sell out, go to the next product, and kind of like rinse and repeat until you can scale that up. Versus like, you know, the way I did it was my first round of my house shirts, I did a bulk production through my local vendor, because I've worked with them for like 7 years. So I was like, I just need like 50 shirts. And yeah, 50 shirts in the beginning when you just start a brand, it's kind of a lot, you know, especially on LA Apparel. That shit's like not cheap. So it made me a little nervous ordering just 50 units, you know, which now in hindsight is kind of funny because I'll order 50 like in a second. But it's like back then, it's like, oh my God, 50 units. I don't want to be sitting around 50 shirts, you know? So what happened was after I got to around like, let's say I sold about 80% of that 50, I started like getting, I don't know what sparked the heat pressing revolution in me, but something started coming towards my way. And I just started watching all these heat pressing videos. And it's crappy sticker looking stuff. It peels. You know, that was as wide as my brain was back then, like how a lot of people who kind of look down before they research anything, right? And then the deeper I went down this hole, the more I realized like there's so much dope shit, like the puff HTV, the brick, you know, plastic still transfers. Like there's so much cool stuff. And the last time I even dealt with the heat press was like in 2017 or 18, maybe 16 or 17 actually. So, you know, it's been like 8 years. So the technology, the durability, like everything has just evolved in such an exponential way that like seeing people like Big Brando, you know, I think he's the one that kind of solidified my decision on buying the machine because, you know, he's a very well-spoken man. He makes things that I like. You know, it's like it wasn't just like someone saying, "Oh, you can make 10,000 a month on Etsy." It wasn't like that kind of shit. It was like, "This is how you make shit with a heat press," and I was like, "This is what I want to watch." Just like straightforward, you know. So I know I'm kind of digressing, but what I'm trying to say is like, if you're interested in becoming and learning the process of creating clothing, then I would say investing in your equipment is a good way to go. But if you don't care about any of that, then like you shouldn't do it this way. Because yeah, this is like a whole different, like you need space for it. You need, you know, electricity bills are going up because of your power and shit. Like I try to not run anything after 5 because like I'm on that tiered electricity risk list. So I try to keep things, you know, daytime only. And it's like all these little things that you don't have to worry about start becoming your day-to-day problem. Or I guess I should say issues that you can find solutions for. But yeah, like plastic transfers, vinyl transfers, DTF, like all these are great options if you go the heat press route.
I just saw you did a pair of shorts with some brick, man. What's your I'm stuck right now. How you feel about brick, bro?
Look, the brick has given me a lot of mileage on social media, so I love the brick. Like the first video that popped off for me was like I was just shooting a video of me like peeling brick off really slowly. And it was like making like that kind of like, you know, the sound, and then like I like zoomed in, like black on black. And that video got like over 10, 20,000 views, which is like a lot for me at that time. And then I was like, is this all it takes? Like, I don't gotta make all these complicated like scenes and think about like a story. I just gotta peel vinyl. And I just started kind of like, you know, because part of me is like, I don't want to just do what works because that may not gather or like attract the right fan base or followers, right? Because this is something I can touch upon a little bit later, but you know, social media is very interesting where you might think something works in terms of numbers, like views and plays and engagement, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're becoming your fans or like your customers. You know, there's two different sectors of that. But the brick, like I love the brick as something that I use. The pair of shorts that I actually showed in that video, like that, I think that's like a year and a half now. I've been recycling my content right now because Instagram's been kind of being a little difficult right now. So yeah, but man, like that pair of shorts, like legit, I've washed it like probably 60, 70 times because I wear that to go hiking, to the beach, like to the pool, working out, and it's still on there. So I'm like, it's not, because part of me before I had this much time, like, you know, between when I started making stuff and selling it, the most I tested things were probably like 2 months max, right? So if someone bought it, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I hope this shit doesn't come apart in like 6 months, you know, because 6 months is like, it's okay, but it's not that great.
Still,
and I do try to stress test them before, you know, in those like 1 month, 2 month period. Like I'll wear it every day. I'll like wear it to sleep. Like I don't know if you guys ever done this, but like wearing your shirts to sleep is a great way to test the durability of a print. Because if you wear like a crappy printed shirt, it crumples up so fast. But if it's like good, it's gonna stay, you know, very vivid and sharp and whatever. But yeah, yeah, it's a good test. But yeah, the brick, man, I love the brick. I'm all about the brick.
Yeah, man. So for a person with a whip that has a heat press and a vinyl cutter or something, like, you know, how do you feel about, or no, let me rephrase that. How can you give them tips on how to start their brand with just a heat press and a vinyl cutter?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question because there's two different aspects to it, right? One is creating the garments, which is the fun part. Designing and creating is the fun part for a lot of people. Selling it is a whole different story, right? Like that's where a lot of people fail because it's tough to get someone to care about your brand. You know, it's like you can make cool looking things, but if no one knows what it's representing or who it's attached to, like no one gives a shit. Like that's just the truth, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that for someone who's just starting off, like you got to think about the bigger picture of like why you're starting it in the first place. Like if you're starting it purely because you want to make money selling stuff, like you're not going to make it. You know, that's what I always say is like you got to do stuff like this because you really love the process, because there'll be many months where it's like $0 before you
Right,
start seeing that profit come in. So
right,
you have to be okay with suffering, you know, in this like hole of creativity, troubleshooting, learning. Like things are not going to stick. Things may, you know, not cut the way you want it, but it's like that's part of the process that you have to enjoy to really make it happen. And
mm-hmm.
that's where the social media marketing part kind of like steps in, is you can showcase how you're growing as a person that has a heat press, you know, and like you can share with the world like, oh, I tried this is cool, you know. It's just like it kind of builds the content in itself, versus when you create a brand like in the traditional sense, like you have to get the products made and then you got to hire models, you know, do a photo shoot, get some lifestyle shots, and like it kind of becomes a whole different ordeal, which is fine. I mean, like, you know, big brands obviously do that, but for someone who's just starting at home with like very limited budget, it's hard to have to do that. You know, even if you do it with some homies, like go out and shoot photos and whatever, it's like I think you got to always keep that fun aspect of the craft that you
Right.
love doing, so that you're in the game longer, and then the longer you're in it, you'll find things that start working, and then you'll kind of start to see like, okay, now we have our foot in the door, like how do we keep on going from
Mm-hmm.
here? So yeah, I mean, heat pressing stuff is great, but I think you got to always think about the bigger picture of like how you're going to get someone else out there to care about what you're doing.
Right.
Right. True.
How do
True.
you come up with your graphics? Like, what's your do you sit down and actually draw a couple of things and be like, that's it, or like take us through that process?
Yeah, so I can't draw. I'm very bad at drawing. I'm like solely a designer on the computer. Like I have
Mhm.
a Wacom here with like it's like a touch screen thing with a pen. I do some typography stuff sometimes, but I design mostly with my mouse, like just mouse and a lot of images, a lot of photo manipulation. Because what I learned was probably like 3 4 years ago. I made this graphic using the threshold and like halftone stuff, and back then that was like still kind of new. And the reason why I figured that out was because I used to make like a shit ton of banners for forums, like growing up, and I used to try and make like those abstract, ethereal, computer-looking like wallpaper and stuff like that
Mhm.
in high school, with my cracked version of Photoshop, which I pay for now. But you know, that's like how we all get started, and like
Man,
those random skills that I like acquired so many years ago started to kind of like come out as I was like trying to figure out how to design clothing. Um, and to be honest, like I get my inspiration when I'm not at my desk. Like I get inspiration when I'm like dropping off packages, if I'm like
mhm.
biking somewhere. You know, I actually feel less creative in front of my computer. And this has been a recent thing. Like I
I
used to
get
feel
that.
like I can mood board and do all this, but now it's like the less time I spend here, like the better my mind thinks. And then when I had that one idea, I just come sprinting here and just crank it out in like, you know, one session kind of thing. So it's hard to
Mhm.
say, man. Like, because the thing with my two brands is like Vision is very like graphic focused. So
Mm.
I have to feel a certain way to like get that graphic that really matters to me, or like it explains how I'm feeling in that moment. That makes me want to create it.
Mhm.
Um, versus like House is like very slogan based, because it's like more text based of a brand. And that's like same. Like I'll just be listening to music or something, and I'll think of something like, oh, like house and techno something, or like I don't know. It's like it's just so freaking random. There's no set way that I design. So it has changed a lot, I would say, over the years. The more experience I've gotten, the less I actually like try to do it, and I just do it when it like speaks to me. I guess if that makes
Right.
sense.
Same here, man. So I just recently, or let me say, let me rephrase that. Not recently, kind of. So I came across you on YouTube about 2 weeks ago, maybe three. Subscribe, like I like his content. I'm gonna subscribe to him, and then Mike T's. I was talking to him yesterday, and he's like, "You need to follow him on Instagram." So I get on Instagram, and apparently I've been following you for a long time and had no clue. I had no clue. Yeah, I was already following. So, but I enjoy your content, man, and what's what are you inspired by?
I appreciate you saying that. Thanks, Zeke. But
Mm-hmm.
the content, it's kind of similar to my designing right now. Like the more I do it, the more I feel like I can't plan it as much. It just has to kind of happen naturally. I had a crazy amount of backlog of B-roll of like, facing the camera, like me working. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to build like this archive because the way I create my videos is like I already have the footage. So once in my head I have like a concept in mind, then I just like clip the videos together and then I like give it like a story or a theme. And then I find a song that kind of goes with my flow. And that's the part that takes the longest, honestly, is like I don't like using crappy trending music. Like, dude,
Me
how many
neither.
times have you heard BBL Drizzy? Like, all these stupid songs. I'm just like, I'm so fucking tired of scrolling and hearing the same three songs. So,
Yeah.
so, so like, I spend a lot of time on Instagram just going through like people who make beats and like, original artists who create songs. And that's most of where my time is actually spent on like creating
Mm-hmm.
content. Is finding good music that's not copyrighted. Because I also
Right.
do have an Epidemic Sounds account, but like those stock songs are cool for background and stuff. But when you're trying to bring focus to something, it doesn't kind of grab that attention as much as you want it to. Yeah. So the content, man, like it's a love hate. Like I like doing it because when people interact with it, it feels good. It's like you feel seen, right? A lot of people want to be seen and heard. That's the whole point of social media.
Right.
But then when the algorithms change, you stop posting for a week and you're in this jail cell of social media. It's like you start losing that like endorphin effect of like posting and seeing the responses, and that's kind of the hard part is working through the trenches and just realizing like, thinking back to, okay, before all these followers, before all the plays, like I was at zero, so I'm trying to like remind myself that was why I started doing all this shit. And it's like a constant thing in my head, it's a constant battle. But I think that's like the biggest thing of being a creative or an entrepreneur or whatever. It's like it's always a battle against yourself
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, and you have to like always remember like why you started in the first place.
Period.
When
Period.
it
Great
comes to
advice.
when it comes to making content, though, now we can get into the other side of it. There's ups and downs always, and I don't know if you want to put your personal information out there. Are you monetized on any social media platforms at all?
Yeah, I'm monetized on Instagram. I get like $16 here and there every 2 months or something. If that's what you mean by monetized, yeah.
It seems like it would like they would have monetized you by now because, like I said, your content is way up there, ranks up there, well edited videos, and whether it's repurposed content or not, it grabs my attention every time I come across it, as it does my partner. So let's talk about Instagram, man, and what's going on with it. Because I had an issue where I couldn't share. I really couldn't get nothing done on Instagram, and it come to find out, I got a note basically from Instagram saying that I share too much. So to them, it looks like I get paid to share people's stuff when I'm actually sharing it because I'm inspired by it. It actually moved me. What's your thoughts on this, man? The whole thoughts, and we on the squad, so let it pour out.
The whole thoughts, man. Fuck this. No, I'm just kidding.
First off, okay, I thought you were Tupac on him.
First
Well,
off,
it's
fuck it.
look,
Fuck.
look. It's like one of these things where we can hate and complain about things all day long. Like I do it all the time. That's kind of what I use Threads for. But at the end of the day, like we kind of have to play the game to get what we want. So you gotta like reel back your true anger and kind of like repurpose it and send it out in the world in a way where it's more positive. And I think that's kind of like what my content is. It's like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like I've been posting like 2 or 3 times a day because it's my way of like giving Instagram a middle finger, being like, you know what, you don't want to show my shit, I'm gonna keep them posting. Like fuck you. That's kind of like it's been driving me more to just try things that I wouldn't normally post because I think in a way I felt kind of complacent and on autopilot, like doing like the peeling, the process. It's like it was getting really boring for me too because like how many times can I show peeling puff vinyl? Like I understand like not the same people see it every single time, but as a creative person, like it was just draining my creativity because I'm like, this is so boring to me now, you know? And it's not like I don't want to show it. I also don't want my feed to be all like heat press stuff because I run a brand too, you know? So it's kind of like the hard balance that I've been trying to juggle as well is like, how much is heat press stuff? Because like speaking of monetization, I do have a partnership with Heat Press Nation. So that's why like I plugged them in a lot and like they support me a lot. So they're like, you know, when I think of monetization, it's kind of like not the platforms paying you, but it's like the affiliate stuff, the outside companies, like how do they kind of support you for the work that you put into it?
Right.
But yeah, so you know, I don't want to segue too far on that topic, but it's just that we have to play by these games, and yeah, it sucks, but I think if you want to make it, if you want this to be your life, like you have to kind of work around what you're given. Unless you're gonna make your own platform, you're gonna get your own audience, you know, all this stuff. Like it's, I don't know, it's like the whole Etsy thing as well. It's like, yeah, Etsy takes a lot of fees, but Etsy is giving your product exposure to millions of people every day that would normally not even find you. You know, it's like this whole good and evil kind of thing with the bigger platforms. So it does suck, yeah, that they kind of hold you by the balls. Like it's just like, so sorry, I don't know if I can speak like this, but
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
We all
You don't care. Okay. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, this kind of like, they just hold you like so close that they're like, okay, you know, you fuck up. Sorry, you're not going to get this next thing that you need, you know? And it's like, it's really annoying. But like, if you complain and you get banned, then you're, you know, you're out of luck. So it's kind of like that fine line between like, you know, what do I want to conform to make sure that I'm under guidance and I'm like good, but what's also like, can you kind of like push the buttons and see like, you know, if they're going to slap me on the wrist or, you know, if they're going to ban me or something like that. But like you being banned for posting too much is like ridiculous because like your page is like very much consistent of what you post. It's like a lot of printing, DTF and all this. So it's like if anyone if there's an actual human being moderating content, they'll look at it and be like, oh, this person is like a company. He's trying to like get his, you know, shit out there versus like they're probably just seeing like Mike C's posted, you know, over 20 times in 6 hours. He's a bot. You know, it's probably like so dry that they don't care about the person. So I think that's what's happening with this shit.
Wow.
Yeah. He does post 20 times in 6 hours, boy, I tell you.
I can't help. I'm addicted to it. Like, and I gotta put something out there for people. Wow. So what all social media sites are you on currently?
I'm on YouTube, pretty much it. I don't like TikTok. TikTok hurts my brain. X Twitter, like I was in a bad mood every time I opened Twitter, so I just stopped opening Twitter, and my mental health has been a lot better. So I've like fully left it before they rebranded to X. And I mean Pinterest, I guess. Like Pinterest is low key kind of cool because sometimes like your pins might blow up randomly. And if you cross post from like Instagram to Pinterest, so you don't have to like manually do it, you know, it just kind of feeds the feed for you. So that's like a good way to be involved with other platforms that you don't have to necessarily maintenance every single day. But obviously you're going to kind of get what you put in, but it's not bad to just have more exposure out there. So yeah, YouTube's my main focus right now because, you know, speaking of monetization, it's like, I think the end goal with my career or whatever this whole thing is like, I want to be monetized on YouTube so I can just like retire and raking money and make videos. Like that's like low key what I want to do at the end of this all is just be that video guy, you know, like that's the dream.
Wow. Go ahead, see. I ain't gonna cut you off, brother. My bad.
I wasn't saying nothing. I'm looking at you, bro. I told you, I'm sorry, Kenji. Though, man, I'm out of it today. I wasn't ready.
No, you're good.
So, I
like the hoodie color, by the way.
Right on. Thank you. Thank you. But I'm enjoying talking to you, man. I love your content, man. I didn't even know. It's crazy that I just like realized I was following you, and then he's like, "We're gonna do I Can Do It." I'm like, cool. But I wasn't ready because he was like, tomorrow, 3:00. I'm like, I gotta go to PT right after this. I gotta leave the PT. I'm like, oh man, I'm not ready. But yeah, man. So I mean, just like, what's your feelings, man, about just the game in general? What make you love doing what you do?
I love creating something that someone else that has no idea who I am like resonate with it. I feel like that unspoken bond of like artist to consumer or fan or
Yeah,
whatever you may want to categorize the end person. I think that's like the coolest thing in the world. And
yeah.
I was actually thinking about this the other day because like I moved around a lot. I grew up in Japan for my childhood, and
Oh
then I
wow.
moved to Hawaii, and then I moved to California. So I've been in like three pretty different places,
Yeah.
and I always found like music to be my escape, and sharing music with people was like my way of kind of communicating. Because I had to learn. So basically, in Japan, like I spoke Japanese, and then I learned
Mm,
English when I went to Hawaii. But then
mm.
in Japan, like they don't like, or I don't say they don't like. There's a hard acceptance of people who aren't like purely Japanese. It's like this whole thing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can look it
I've
up
read
on
about
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's real, because I'm half Asian, so it's like I grew up with it, and it wasn't like bad, right? I wouldn't say I wasn't teased because there was definitely teasing, but like everyone's a shithead in elementary school, like everyone got fucked up, so it was a little different. But there's definitely like some unspoken thing that you feel, and then you grow up, and then I moved to Hawaii, right? And Hawaii, there's a thing against white people, so it's kind of like I'm like half white, so now I'm like experiencing this other unspoken thing in Hawaii too, So it's like this whole time I'm growing up, like it feels like there's a weird like layer around me. And
Mm.
then I come to California and it's like it just went away. Like I felt like I can just exist. So like when there's like oppression, all this conversation, like I totally understand like what it feels like to grow up in these situations. Like you don't feel easy just existing, and it kind of sucks.
Right.
Um, but sorry, not kind of went off the deep end there.
No,
Um,
that's
but
good. Good. I get
but
it.
but that's why like yeah. But that's why like art is like the coolest thing because you don't gotta be able to talk the same language. Like you don't have to be the same skin color, same
Right.
heritage. It doesn't fucking matter. If it's dope, it's dope. And that's why like clothing is just another outlet for me to be able to connect with people. And that's why like I love doing it is because it lets me like build these connections with people that I probably won't even meet ever in my life. But then they send me a message that says like I fuck with your stuff, and it's
Hmm.
like you can't beat that feeling. Like that's like just it's unreal.
Right, right. So, man, this kind of off subject, but you said you lived in Japan and you ended up in Hawaii. So, is it like I know that like it's a lot of Japanese there because of the internment camps and stuff like that. Was there like any like family members that went suffered through that, or I'm just curious how your parents ended up in Hawaii.
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that. So Hawaii actually doesn't have any internment camps because that was mostly Japanese Americans in California.
Yeah.
But
Oh, okay. Okay.
so
Yeah.
like so this is another like cultural thing that I learned is like Japanese Americans in Hawaii are very different from Japanese Americans on the mainland because
Right.
Japanese Americans in Hawaii got more or less treated like normal people because there's so much tied to the homeland.
Mm,
Um, versus like here, they were like, oh, all these Japanese people are bad, and then the whole ordeal happened.
right.
So like my side, like my mom's side is very like Japan, like homeland Japan. So I
Mm,
don't like there's no one in my family that was affected in terms of like being put through
mm,
that terrible time in
mm.
America. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's interesting that you bring that up because like that's all things that I learned so much later in my life and not like in
Yeah.
school. It's
Yeah.
like why are we talking about shit like this?
Right.
Real
Right.
life.
We always ask ourselves.
Right.
The
Hmm.
print industry and the shows. I think I saw you at Expo at the beginning of this year, and then I know for sure I saw you at Big Brando shop. Shout out to Big Brando and Heat Press Nation.
Yeah, man.
Yes, yes.
So the print industry, the print shows. I mean, do you feel that's something that everybody should attend if you're in this industry? Is that important? Like, give us your take on it.
I think everyone who does this should go to it because you get to see it like on a bigger scale. And if it's like your first couple years or like you're just getting into it, I think it could really inspire you to see like where you can grow your business. And
Right.
sometimes like you kind of need that visual like goal, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh, one day I'm gonna own a fucking I don't know 6 head embroidery machine. I'm gonna own like a 12 color automatic screen print. I don't know. I think it's good to like have a tangible goal like that. And
Right.
like not only that, like it's just cool to see stuff getting made like so quickly,
yeah,
right? Because when you send your stuff up to a shop and you don't know how it works, like it's just magic. You just get a box with your stuff made, and you don't really care how it gets made. But when you see the process, how long it takes, like all the equipment, it just gives you more appreciation of the craft. And I think that's really important for like anyone who does this, because like, not saying that I didn't give as much credit, but like now that I'm doing embroidery, this shit takes a lot of time. Like it takes way more time than I thought it does. You know, I thought you just like pop in the hat, you get the hat, but like this one took like 20 minutes for the front, the side, and the back. Like this takes like, you know, it's not as easy as it seems. But it's also something that I really love learning. Is like I like the challenge, and I like seeing every stitch like become something. It's so freaking cool. It's kind of like if you did a screen print and process print, and you see like every layer adding a little bit more color, a little bit more detail, and then you see the final thing, and you're like, damn, it's like magic.
Right.
So yeah, I think in that aspect of seeing it is really cool, and also it's good to network, because networking is like so freaking valuable. Like even though a lot of us don't want to go out and talk to people, it's like it's part of the business that you need to get used to, because like it could feel like a chore, but you can make it so it's more fun for yourself. You know, like have a goal in mind. Like I want to meet like 5 people and talk about something that I've never talked about. You know, it's good to like, I learned this from a friend because he's really good at chopping it up with like every fucking person in line. But what he does is like he'll say something super random that has nothing to do with like what's going on. So it catches people off guard, and like they kind of respond to him. And then he like starts talking about, you know, why they're there. But it's like the opening line is really key, because everyone's a little reserved, you know, they're like, I don't want random people talking to me and shit. So I think like having a game plan of who you want to talk to, whether it's like people, companies, I guess now like influencers, like, you know, I mean, like Big Brando was like getting chased down by everyone. And I saw Jared from Heat Press Nation as well. I saw some like super colored people. I don't know who they are personally, but you know, it's like I can tell like there was like that aura of people wanted to go talk to them. And I think these are good opportunities to like get in touch with, you know, these people, because even if they might not like remember the exact conversation, like most people remember faces, you know, when you see them at these shows, and then you see them at the next show, and then you see them at the next event, and it's like then you start kind of building this little community, and then people support you for supporting them. You know, it's like a good way to build that network. So 100% like recommend going to at least like 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, I can do it. Anybody that's watching this, hashtag Team Replay, make sure you go visit I Can Do It. Like, comment, and subscribe to I Can Do It as well. And follow him on Instagram, I Can Do It.
Right here. Right here. Right here.
It's going to be somewhere. Just make sure you follow. We greatly appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us. I know this was a rushed interview, but I just had to get you on. I remember telling you when I was standing there in Big Brando's store, I definitely would love to get you on the show. To see this come to fruition was definitely it's at the top. It's up there. And we would definitely like to bring you back to the platform, as I do have a lot more questions, but the time is a constraint. Seek, any final words you got to say?
Yeah, man, Kenji, I'm glad to finally meet you. You know, I love your channel, like I said, brother, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. You out here inspiring people, man. Keep it going.
Thank you. Like I really needed to hear that, because things were not good for June for my business. So it's been a tough month.
Man, it happens. It happens.
Yep.
It's summertime.
Up and down.
Before I leave, before I get up out of here, one little tidbit. Have you ever did customs, or is it just straight brand? Because I know you said you don't like other stuff, or you don't necessarily care for other people's visions. But have you ever hopped into customs at all?
I don't want you to say that I don't care about people's vision. It's like I like to put my resources to myself. I'm greedy because I have all the machines. It's like I gotta make shit. But no, I actually do wholesale orders for some clients. Like they need like shirts made for a show. They need hats made. Like I'm the guy that makes it happen. So I do custom work, but I do have a higher MOQ because again, like I want to run time for myself, for my brands, because it needs a lot of attention. So
absolutely.
Yep.
Well, this episode was brought to you by KRISPYPRINTZ.com. I mean, Got Shop. Excuse me. Got Shop.
Go ahead and visit Director Film, Mystery Boxes, UV, you name it. Themes.
And you can also get your own custom prints over there as well.
Yep, you can submit your own prints, UV or customs, and we carry blanks. Guild and soft style, if anybody wants to know. But until the next one, you guys, we are out. Thank you again, Kenji, for coming on to the platform.
Appreciate
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
We gonna get it chopped down and get it to you, man.
All right.